All right. Hey, everybody. Sorry for the delay. I got sick again. So this weekend, or rather last Wednesday, Jurassic Park 7, All Dinosaurs Go to Heaven came out. Oh, wait, that's not the title? Maybe it should have been. Okay, so it's actually Jurassic World 4. Jurassic World 4, The Rebirth. Fuck does that mean? Nothing gets reborn in this movie. None of the characters are born again Christians. It's not even like they're trying to make like new dinosaurs or a new theme park, so nothing is born in this movie, and that title is stupid. So it contains neither the island nor the characters from that previous movie, but it does finally have a big confrontation with the Mosasaurus introduced in that movie, so I guess on that flimsy premise, it is Jurassic World 4, so that part of the title holds up. I don't know, maybe they should have called this one like Jurassic Park 7, The Mission to Steal the Dino Blood. Or just Dino Blood. Anyway, now I had previously predicted this would be the worst one ever, and I'm surprised to say it's not actually the worst one ever, if only because the last movie completely ignored all that dinosaur action for Locust Park, and that was a level of dumb that's hard to go beyond. So we're slightly above Locust Park. So on the big ranking of JP films, the first is the best for the action horror sci-fi premise and starring it all up. Jurassic World comes in second for me as being a dark comedy and a big expansion of the original theme park premise. JP2 was pretty cool because it pushed the concept further and took it to San Diego. And that's pretty much the cutoff line from where the good ones end and the bad ones start. In the bad ones category, we got JP3, basically just DLC from the first movie. Literally just a big pile of random scenes from the book they didn't have time to fit in the first movie. Then this movie, JP7, is also kind of the same thing. It's even more DLC for that first movie, despite also occupying a much farther spot on the timeline and being the farthest away from the first film. It's still just stuff they cut out of the book and nonsense they added on top. So yeah, it's better than the last two final Jurassic World movies, which suffered from the bad premise of Clone Girl came to destroy the world and the extremely bonkers cartoon logic of her releasing dinosaurs across North America and then failing to both deal with that as a concept or the consequences of what a global dinosaur outbreak would look like, except apparently in the recent Netflix cartoon that did it adequately. However, for better or worse, this movie is also a Gareth Edwards movie, big number 5 from the G-Man, who has had a pretty successful movie-making record in my opinion, and so there you go. Even if it's not the worst Jurassic Park movie, I can say it's definitely the worst Gareth Edwards movie, because I've seen all 4 of them, and quickly ranking up all the 4 Gareth Edwards movies, I'm going to say his best movie is The Creator, because he brought his A-game to an original high-budget sci-fi story, even if it does have a lot of quirky shit stolen from various animes, especially randomly Phoenix Wright, that wacky lawyer visual novel game. Creator is overall a solid movie with some solid post-apocalyptic visuals and some other crazy space colony stuff that was stolen from Gundam. Number 2 is probably Rogue One, a Star Wars story, which is held up in my mind as the best Star Wars Disney movie ever made, as well as holding up as an interesting deconstruction of the very idea of what a Star Wars prequel could be, right after George Lucas had done them unsuccessfully for decades. But it's overall visually beautiful, with it basically surviving on its career of being Death Star porn. Now then, coming in number 3 is Gareth Edwards' original movie Monsters, which I reviewed on the channel a few months back in preparation for this movie. Monsters is kind of a low-budget miracle, since Gareth basically made it with no money and stole real-life locations from deep south hurricane disaster zones. It also kind of sets up a lot of the concepts and themes later explored in Godzilla. And coming in at number 4, the worst Gareth Edwards movie before today was his Godzilla, a fairly disappointing visual exploration of what a Godzilla movie could be, and there's just not enough Godzilla in it, and every time Godzilla shows up, they cut away from him. There's also a super lame Bryan Cranston bait and switch, which I've never been able to forgive the movie for, and those lame fucking Muto things that are trying to like have sex in a major metropolitan area. I do think, though, that he overall got the Monsterverse started at a decent place, and I did at least enjoy the creation of the Dr. Serizawa character. So in short, even though I just rank Godzilla as his previous worst movie, I'd still say Godzilla is a solid B, just compared to all the other movies he did being A's under the conditions and the scenarios he had to work with. Gareth Edwards has commanded a pretty decent batting record. So that brings us to Jurassic World: The Rebirth, which is definitely his worst movie at a sad C. All right, so let's get into it. Spoilers, duh.
この番組はヨランのスポンサーの提供でお送りします。
And One thing I'm going to say about this movie is it has very defined scenes that start and end and contains something very specific happening with a very specific group of characters. And they play that out entirely before they move on to a different scene where something else is happening. All right, so there's a light prologue establishing that once upon a time, InGen had this like testing island that made mutant dinosaurs for no apparent reason. I guess they were just like prototype dinosaurs. Anyway, one day some guy didn't throw out his trash properly, and this led to a chain reaction where all the dinosaurs got out and killed everyone. Remember, kids, always throw away your trash and recycle, or you will be violently murdered and eaten by those dinosaurs. Prologue over. So then in a massive cop-out because no one fucking has the balls to do it, we are not getting a movie where dinosaurs invade various aspects of modern society. Even though there are so many branching paths they could have taken that story, the movie starts off with a super dumb retcon that they all died because it was too cold and they didn't have enough oxygen except at the equator. I also need to bring this up, and maybe it was just a plotline in the video game Jurassic Park Evolution 2. I kind of forget, but Owen and Bryce Dallas Howard opened up like a snowy North Dakota dinosaur rescue preservation camp. That has probably failed miserably, and they probably lost their life savings investing in that. But yeah, they all died, so whoops. Anyway, so the movie starts off with evil pharma scumbag businessman, who is loosely based on real life evil pharma scumbag businessman Martin Shkreli, who like stole a Wu-Tang record. And anyway, long story short, his whole basis of running a healthcare company was to do the most evil things possible to maximize a profit. And that's what this guy's doing. In this movie, this guy wants to harvest the blood of the world's biggest dinosaurs to seemingly make a drug that will like make everyone's hearts bigger so we can live for 300 years or something and maybe cure heart disease. But it seems like what he's laying out would just like mutate like human hearts to like make them bigger and like make people live longer. Maybe people would turn into giants or something. But yeah, the whole like premise they're like just throwing out is dinosaur hearts bigger so they work better. So yeah, good luck hauling around your like drug boosted heart that's the size of a refrigerator. I envy your life for like living to 300 with that thing attached to you. Anyway, after a kind of cool scene of a Brachiosaurus dying in Brooklyn, the movie then goes into a really stupid heist movie cliche of we're putting a team together in a big stupid montage where we spend way too much time introducing each character and having a 5-minute conversation with each of them to kind of get a flavor of what kind of annoying personality they have. So the first person he recruits is Scarlett Johansson, who's kind of sneaky. Initially seems to be your run-of-the-mill, 5-foot-tall, 40-year-old Scarlett Johansson, but we'll get into her later because as the movie continues on, this is probably the most disappointing version of Scarlett Johansson I've ever seen put to film. Next up, they recruit Scientist Man. Scientist Man is not the most insufferable character in the movie. He's weirdly like Dr. Grant and Ian Malcolm combined together from the previous movies. He even has some of their dialogue from the previous movies because once again, they're just ripping shit off from the book that they couldn't fit into the previous movies. Scientist Man is roped into this big pharma adventure because no one cares about dinosaurs anymore, and that hurts his ego. So he instantly, meanwhile, turns on Pharma Bro Man because of science. Now, I'm not sure even what to think of this, but this guy like turns instantly. Now, on the one hand, Martin Shkreli Pharma Bro is like pure evil and he kind of deserves it, but it's kind of shitty that he hired this guy and like immediately like from the day one, like on the first day on the job, he's already like, fuck you, man. I'm going to undermine everything you do. I'm going to leak your entire business model to the world and like steal your research data. Like maybe he should have like ethically vetted this guy before he like put him in like a key position in his like very dangerous like operation. Like he's like completely against like everything this guy hired him just now to do. And like he's immediately trying to like undermine the mission. So like that seems like a massive like liability. Anyway, Scientist Man sets up that the movie's mission, there are 4 things to do in this movie. They have to defeat and steal the blood of the Mosasaurus, the biggest water dinosaur, the Titanosaurus, the biggest land dinosaur, and the Quetzalcoatlon, the biggest air dinosaur, and then they have to escape from Jurassic Park, or whatever the fuck this island is. So then after that, they go to South America, they recruit this black boat captain and a bunch of expendable extras who will all die and get exactly 2 lines of dialogue each. By the way, they don't really establish anyone's names in this movie, so I'm just describing everybody that way, but yeah, that's the way it is. So on the boat, Scarlett Johansson and black boat captain start to get to know each other because they're like old friends, and it's revealed that both of them have PTSD because her partner died and his kid died and his wife left him. And there's some light sexual tension between them where it seems like they have feelings for each other and Scarlett Johansson wants to give him a kiss, but it never goes anywhere after this. Immediately after that, there's a scene where Scientist Man talks to Scarlett Johansson and he also has some light sexual tension with her. And even though Scientist Man wants to like leak the blood DNA on the internet for his like own weird reasons, for whatever reason, Scarlett Johansson has to decide whether that's good or not, decide whether she's going to help him to prove she's a good person. And here it's pointed out in this scene that Scarlett Johansson, somehow the world's strongest, toughest, strong woman mercenary, is incredibly dumb, like dumber than a child, incapable of making any real world decisions, incapable of doing anything she's not told. She is an extremely dumb Scarlett Johansson, the dumbest Scarlett Johansson I've ever seen, like dumber than a child, dumber than the actual child in this movie that has no dialogue. But yeah, so Scarlett Johansson's overhanging arc in this movie is just like, do I have free will? Can I make a choice on my own? Her entire character journey is just that she has to decide to do something of her own volition that she's not paid to do or ordered to do. Like, she's literally like the basic Turing test for like, are you a human or are you a robot? And she's like really struggling to like register as human. And like her grappling with like the decision of free will is so comedically dumb, but that's her arc in the movie, making this somehow both the strongest on-screen depiction of Scarlett Johansson while at the same time definitively the dumbest. Like, show me a dumber Scarlett Johansson in films. I dare you to. Now, then still in an incredibly long intro sequence where they talk to everybody, we're introduced to the Delgado family. Once again, I had to look up their names because they never call them the Delgado family in the movie. Their names are never spoken out loud. But yeah, in this case, I have to just call them the Delgado family because they mostly act as a unit. There's Daddy Delgado, who's somehow invincible, like cartoon levels of invincible. Like, he takes a beating and keeps on going with like no damage or like slow down. Then there's Daughter Delgado, who exists to solely be a damsel in distress. Daughter Delgado has a boyfriend who is a male damsel in distress, does literally nothing redeeming in this entire movie, is introduced as an asshole, leaves the movie as an asshole, never tries to better himself, and despite Daughter and asshole being shipped as a couple, they have no affection for each other. They barely even talk to each other within the entire course of the movie. Despite both of them constantly falling into danger, they both have this like every man for themselves fuck you attitude where they never even try to help each other despite like seemingly being a couple. But yeah, for this supposedly deeply in love couple, they literally express zero feelings of like love, admiration, or even friendship for each other. They don't even touch each other. Like, is heterosexuality that just like forbidden as a concept that like you can't even see it on screen, even like when two characters are like explicitly said to be dating, lest the church state be offended by like preteen sex? Lastly, there's also baby daughter Delgado, who does nothing, doesn't talk, except picked up this random cute triceratopsy dinosaur, who also does nothing, but don't worry, you can definitely buy him in the gift shop when we're done. Anyway, so they're in a ridiculously stupid situation where they're sailing around the world in like this old sailboat from the 1970s. It doesn't have like an autopilot or a motor, so it has to be constantly like navigated by someone. An asshole wasn't pulling his weight, so Dad's been like steering this boat for like 2 days without sleep. Anyway, they run into the Mosasaurus, who instantly knocks over the boat, and then they're like in the water on top of the boat. Asshole somehow escapes from like an upside down door, and then they're all fine, but now they're like sitting on this boat in the ocean. So they use their radio and they call the dinosaur farmer boat to rescue them. And so now everyone's on the same boat in the same situation. After this, there's a big set piece where they fight the Mosasaur. In my personal opinion, this is the peak of the movie. The movie peaks 20 minutes in, so this is a bad thing. Even though otherwise this is the best part of the movie because it kind of reminded me of like the Jed Moran fight from like Monster Hunter 3 on the Wii. But yeah, so by all accounts, I enjoyed the Mosasaur fight the most in this movie. This was like the most interesting, exciting, satisfying scene. Like, the movie only has like 2 good scenes, and this is one of them. I was also super extremely satisfied that like after 3 movies worth of teasing like one day the Mosasaur will do something aside from like eat that one bitchy lady in the first movie, this was the long-awaited payoff of it doing anything, and it was cool. I will say that they explained like they made this blood-stealing gun in the movie that like operates on this super crazy mechanism where it steals like a liter of like dinosaur blood and like launches in the air on a parachute. I thought it would be funny if they like kept missing the Mosasaur or missed catching it and they like eventually just like drained so much blood they killed the Mosasaur. But every time they use the gun, they're like instantly like perfect with it. Anyway, yeah, so otherwise the Mosasaur fights rules. They steal the blood from the Mosasaur. Then it like sends like a swarm of like Spinosaurus Aqua type minions at the boat. Those swarm all over the boat and destroy it. It kills like some minor cast members. And Farmer Bro tries to kill Daughter Delgado in like the first of like his like numerous crimes. And oh yeah, Worst plot hole of the movie happens here. So Father Delgado gets his leg broken when like the boat is shaking around, and it like bends like 180 degrees backwards, like he's like fucking Stretch Armstrong. Despite that though, like he's completely fine with like running and swimming and jumping over the dinosaurs for the rest of the movie. So that should have been cut out. That kind of ruined the immersion for me, because I have to otherwise accept that this is an insanely cartoony man who can like take deadly levels of damage but be fine. Anyway, so they land on Jurassic Park, or rather the InGen mutant testing site, and I like that InGen is back as like the main evil corporation in this movie. I like have like a lot of nostalgia for them. Unfortunately though, this is like a post-defeated, like post-bankruptcy, completely unsatisfying version of InGen who doesn't really do anything other than like be a logo and a presence. So the family splits off and they get to do all the dumb, interesting Jurassic Park cliches, while the pharma mercenaries get to do dumb, super easy video game fetch quests. There's a suspenseful scene where Asshole almost gets eaten by the raptors, but the raptors are killed by the movie's sub-boss, these like big, stupid, naked pelican things, which I thought were real dinosaurs, but they're not. They're apparently just wholly fictional, giant-ass pelicans, because Gareth Edwards thought everyone running away from some giant-ass pelicans would be fucking funny. I am so disappointed, because giant pelicans are fictional, and they're definitely a step down from the last movie that had like 5 seconds of like real life giant finger dinosaur. I don't know. Am I the only person who watches this movie to see like obscure trivia about real dead dinosaurs conveyed through action set pieces? But you get none of that in this movie aside for like the T-Rex and the Mosasaurus, because otherwise it's all just like stupid made up shit. Anyway, I realized after the fact that the scene was some sort of meta commentary on the movie that there are no raptors in this movie, because these lame fucking ass giant pelicans ate them all. Although it's kind of hard to go back to the classic raptors gonna eat you tension of the first movie after Chris Pratt just spent 3 movies being like best friends with them. So anyway, mercenary team then goes to get blood from the Titanosaurus. It's a lame retreat of the Brachiosaurus scene from Jurassic Park 1, even with the exact same fucking music, but it's still like done wrong and I'm bothered by it. So what bothers me is that as the scene goes on, the number of Titanosaurus increased from like 1 to 20 and then finally 200. And yeah, we're literally like seeing 200 of these things on screen in what seems to be an impossible number of dinosaurs for this very small island's very small sustainable ecosystem. Where the fuck are all these gigantic herbivore Titanosauruses eating? And how the fuck did 200 of them breed in like what's implied to be like maybe like a 15-year time gap at best? Like this movie can't get a balance of like the dinosaurs right. There's either like no dinosaurs for hours while the characters are all like arguing, or the character will look over a cliff and see like 500 dinosaurs sunbathing on a beach. Like make up your fucking mind, movie. I also feel like it's worth mentioning that Titanosaurus once fought Godzilla, and back in those days they thought it stood on 2 legs. So it would be cool if Godzilla fought Titanosaurus again with this design. Like, come on, Gareth Edwards, now you fucked up both Godzilla and Titanosaurus. Let them fight. That's what the man said. Meanwhile, the Delgado family gets to the classic Riverboat scene from the original Jurassic Park novel, which I remember because as a kid, I got that scene explained to me on a trading card, and the trading card made it sound really fucking cool. And I will agree that the scene is really fucking cool. It is the second best scene in the movie after the Mosasaurus battle. Unfortunately, that's it. The rest of the movie is pure trash after this. So also, I want to say that the T-Rex raft scene is the last scene that really points out that all the real dinosaur scenes were way cooler than all the made-up dinosaur scenes we get later. So then after this, the mercenary team goes to seal the blood of the Quetzalcoatlon, which is randomly in a cliff-based Incan temple, you know, from like all those cliff-climbing, cliff-based Incan Indians that lived on those island cliffs off the coast of Brazil. So they steal the blood from one of the eggs, and I kind of can't imagine that stealing the blood from this egg doesn't kill the egg, because the blood syringe is like relatively the same size as the egg. The Quetzalcoatlon gets mad they killed the egg, and it eats Black Boat Captain's best friend, who didn't speak English anyway, so he had like 2 lines as all the extras who get killed immediately do. Then everyone magically climbs down the cliff face calmly and just kind of moves on with their life without actually acknowledging another person died, aside from giving their occasional frowny faces. Now after this, they have the 3 magic blood potions. They can create the super blood, so it's time to leave the island. They finally reach the abandoned InGen biolab that we set up in the first prologue, and there's big talk about how the biolab had this infinitely running thermal power plant because like the island has a volcano we never see, or like hot springs or something. What's weird is it isn't entirely explained, and the lab just magically activates its power when everyone arrives there. My read on the situation was that maybe it had some sort of motion sensor that activated when everyone walked into it, but they don't explain it, and the film kind of implies that there's like a darker reason the electricity went on, like maybe there was some sort of lone survivor secretly running the place like the Phantom of the Opera, or maybe there's like some hyper-intelligent dinosaur that knows how to work a light switch. Nothing is ever clarified, so if you know what the hell happened, how the power got on, leave me a comment, because this bothered me. Anyway, so then the giant pelicans go to attack everybody. The group runs in two directions. One group goes down to the sewer, and the other group goes into this weird gas station that's near the sewer. And the evil farmer bro steals this Jurassic Jeep, and the Jeep keeps making like loud car alarm sounds, so you figure the dinosaurs would hear that and like come right at it. I have to mention that this Jeep looks like it came straight out of the last Gareth Edwards movie, The Creator. So on the one hand, it's a very Gareth Edwards looking Jeep in my book, but if it's supposed to be some abandoned vehicle from like 1994, why does it look like it's a future car from the year 3000? Anyway, then the D-Rex shows up, which is the big like monster of the movie. The D-Rex is just this stupid deformed T-Rex that looks like a xenomorph. It has like the whale head and it's got like 6 legs, and the design is kind of cool. It kind of has like a kaiju vibe, but ultimately it's like massively inferior to like the previously established like Indominus Rex in Jurassic Park. So it's just like a different design to sell a toy. I'd say it's even like worse than the normal T-Rex because it's like just bigger, slower, and uglier, and like the only like advantage it has is it has like gorilla arms. So it really doesn't do anything super fucking threatening outside of just being like deformed and evil and stupid. I think it eventually eats Farmer Bro, and fuck him, he was evil. Killing Farmer Bros is kind of a hot topic this summer for some reason, and anyway, then it definitely eats a helicopter, and then everyone otherwise manages to pretty easily run away from it because it's so fucking huge and so fucking slow. They don't even kill it, which would be justified because it's like a super monster. They just run away from it and kind of forget it, and that's the fucking climax of the movie. Everyone just runs away. Now, don't get me wrong. Like, if I really think about it, a majority of these Jurassic Park movies end with just like the human characters running away from the main threat, but usually they're like sneaky about it, and usually there's some like extra cherry on top where like the T-Rex comes out and like murders the irregularity, restoring the natural balance, or there's some sort of themes of like carrying on, life will find a way, the dinosaurs will restore the balance of the world to suit themselves. This movie lacks all that. It kind of just cuts off with like no ending, and that honestly pisses me off. Like, I'm just saying, like, in any other Jurassic Park movie, the T-Rex and some raptors would have shown up and killed the D-Rex and, like, ate it. But they don't do that in this movie because that's exactly how Jurassic World ended, and maybe that's been, like, played out. But even still, that was a better movie than this one. And if they weren't going to do that, I don't know, they should have just, like, blown up the D-Rex with, like, a bomb or, like, a missile or something. They should have, like, called in an airstrike because it's sized as a fucking, like, aircraft hangar. It should have been, like, a super easy target to just, like, drop a bomb on it. Anyway, so Black Boat Captain tries to kamikaze himself. He lures the D-Rex away from everyone with a flare like Claire did in Jurassic World. It seems like the D-Rex is going to eat him, but magically it all works out. He gets away fine, and he's like completely unscathed because I guess they need him for the next movie. So in the end, like Scarlett Johansson realizes she has free will and money isn't everything. And yeah, the movie just cuts off like inconclusively with them leaving the island, and just you're supposed to assume it all worked out for the best. This movie was overall pretty messy, but on the basis that the Mosasaurus scene and the T-Rex scenes were single-handedly handled much better than the last 2 Jurassic World movies put together, I can't hate this one that much, but there's so much of this movie that's just aggressively mid or aggressively stupid. Too much of the movie is slow. Too much of the movie doesn't have dinosaurs. There's too many stupid conversations about what's going on for like people who aren't paying attention to the movie, and it just makes everyone look extremely stupid, like everyone's like working on like 4th grader brain. And this movie just doesn't have enough. It doesn't have enough dinosaurs. It doesn't have enough action. It's just like, wow, here we are. We all have like conflicted personalities. I'm also super mad that they retconned the dinosaurs everywhere twist from Dominion. Like, what the hell was the point of that? Like, there was no reason to even do it. Like, they could have done this whole movie without even touching that, just because like they like established that the dinosaurs had like certain areas like they were thriving in and not thriving in. Like, I'm kind of pissed now because I just want one simple movie where like, I don't know, a bunch of like Midwest like rednecks like fail to stop a stegosaurus from like flattening their entire town, or like we could have had like Jurassic Park Vegas, just like a movie where like someone tries to like open up a Jurassic Park in Vegas. We could have had like a lot of movies where like they effectively grappled with the idea that modern society and dinosaurs are incompatible just because they're too big and too stupid. They could have done a whole movie just about like capturing all the dinosaurs, but maybe that would have been too political. So instead we get this movie about fucking healthcare pharma bros like screwing the American public and families being invincible but devoid of love and affection, and Scarlett Johansson having the brain of the very same dinosaurs she's out to stop and taking several days to use it to think of anything. All right, that's my review of this movie. I realize I can't stop you from seeing it, but I hope the next one's better than this. At least this was better than the last one, but it's still pretty bad. Gah. All right, I'm out of here. Don't sail your vacation sailboat through dinosaur-infested waters with your asshole son-in-law, I guess.